Differentials rise like morning sun, chasing points, the game's begun. Big decisions week by week, fantasy glory's what we seek. Pick your squad, the clock won't wait. Captain choice will seal your fate. Two enthusiasts breaking it down. Fantasy kings, we're taking the crown.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Tinker Time at FPL Pod, the show for every fantasy Premier League manager who's already second-guessing their first draft. It's Thursday, August 21st, 2025. Whether you're finally locked into your Gameweek 2 draft or just here to scout some differentials, you've come to the right place. I'm Matt, alongside Jim, and we're here to help you tweak, test, and yes, tinker your way to the top of your mini leagues. We'll break down the best value picks, fixture trends, and hidden gems so you don't have to stare at your squad screen in despair. So let's pop the hood, crack open the spreadsheet, and get tinkering. Jamothy, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great. Game week 2, Spurs are playing the early fixture on Saturday. There's no better time to wake up with a cup of coffee. We talked about it last week.
I think my favorite part, if I could ever have a wet dream about FPL, it's probably a 7:30 Spurs fixture with the weather slightly trending towards fall.
You're wishing away the end of summer.
I'm going to be very honest. I've been wearing pants and flip-flops all week, and I don't think I've ever been happier.
You're not a little bit sweaty?
Right now, there's a lot of moisture going on in this season. But the point being, it's game week 2.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for game week 2. I'm freaking out a little bit.
You've been texting me all week. You're trying to blow everything up.
The deadline is around the corner, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to try to give folks a little bit of an idea of what they can do, what they can't do, what they should do, what they shouldn't do.
We'll never tell people what they should do.
Well, that's fair.
I won't. You definitely will.
I probably will. It's my heritage, paisan. But listen, we talk about what we're thinking going into this week. So last week was all about a new beginning, fresh starts. This week's panic.
Yeah.
This is really your first chance to make some edits to your squad that really count, right? These decisions have implications. These decisions have consequences. The other thing to note, so this week is the first game week that you will actually be able to activate your wild card or your free hit chips. So just for those folks who are not familiar with these chips, wild card allows you to essentially have unlimited transfers as long as those transfers are still within your budget, and those transfers will persist moving forward. So that would be your team going forward. The difference between wildcard and free hit essentially acts as the same type of chip, but free hit will revert your team back to the prior week selections at the end of this game week. So if you bring in 3 or 4 or 5 players on a free hit, those players will transfer essentially back to the original players at the conclusion of the game week as we as we transition to the game week 3. Did I miss anything?
No, you're good. I would just put it out there, probably too early to be using free hit.
Oh, yeah, I would agree,
Yeah.
but you didn't say wild card. That's interesting.
No, I mean, a lot of people, we see it every year.
I just want to
Game
hear
week
you say
1.
one time that bench boost week 1 was not
We saw
crazy.
somebody in the league that used bench boost week 1.
Who did we see?
Commissioner.
Oh,
It was interesting.
did it pan out?
I think he got some points. Let's pull it up here.
Let's see.
To do that, I mean, it takes.
Take
He
some
had Dubravka, Indira, Esteve, and Konza on his bench. So he got a total of 16 points. Not bad.
16 points is really not bad from a bench boost.
Not bad, but it's a week that
To be fair, though, he
the
got
rest of his team
10 of those
didn't-
points from Titty Reindeers.
Correct. And the rest of his team didn't really contribute tremendously. So it's not like it was, that really put him over the mark of over the average. It did put him over the average, but it didn't put him leaps and bounds 16 points ahead
I just want to hear you say that it wasn't crazy.
I won't say that.
Okay, that's fair. So we've got a lot of things to talk about today. Let's get right into it. Before we get into deadline strategy, I think we have to talk about some of the latest transfers and transfer rumors. Let's start with the biggest rumor that there is, and it's not a rumor at this point. Frankly, it's just kind of annoying,
Yeah.
and that being Xander, as
Alexander.
intimately Xander Isak. So I'm assuming you saw his, I think it was Instagram post, was it a Twitter post?
He put a post out basically saying he was promised things that did not come true, and he's saddened that he's not with the team. And then Newcastle basically responded saying, "We don't know what you're talking about." So it doesn't seem like they are any closer to moving forward with a sale.
This sounds just like your classic middle school relationship, right? Where like, you know,
We
the
were
vo-
on a break.
we were never official. Like, give it a rest. Okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there are legal legitimacies around Isaac's contract, these verbal handshakes, these gentlemen agreements. Give me a break. Listen, these are huge numbers. Throw that shit out the door.
But to Newcastle fans' point, they basically have unlimited funds. So they could.
Why do they have unlimited funds?
Well,
Tell the people why they have unlimited funds.
let's not. I don't want to be put on a list. But they could.
Like a blood list?
They could bench him for the season. He could hold out, or he could say, "Fine, I'll play." Newcastle could bench him.
It could.
Basically kill his career. He's at the top of his game. Transfer price at an all-time high.
There are reports of him possibly sitting out. I think he still has 2 years left on his contract. He could, in theory, sit out the next 2 years, which shout out to Commissioner Muguero. Aguero is his team name in our league.
It's Muguero.
Muguero. I'm all crossed up. We're not doing that again. But I mean, he called the Micah Parsons holdout. I mean, Isaac is great. Is he sit out for 3 years and come back and revive his career great?
No.
No, he's not.
This lasts longer than
Mistake.
if this lasts longer than the January transfer window, I think the world moves on. They'll find
So
somebody
we
else that they're
have
excited about.
10 days left at the time of recording this. So basically 9 days left in the summer transfer window. I don't think it gets done because Newcastle
Yeah.
seemed pretty firm, but I don't think he suits up in black and white ever again.
I don't know if we've ever seen a player hold out. We've seen it in American football.
Basically every American sport, because American sports have just become disgusting as far as players demanding teams that they want to play for. And I hate it.
Yeah.
I hope the Prem doesn't become this. I hope soccer doesn't become
I agree.
this.
I agree. I hope he plays. They sell him in January.
That being said, I think I'm done talking about a guy who frankly isn't even playing.
Yep.
Don't bring Isak in your squad. If you had him week 1 thinking that he was going to move to Liverpool, get him out right away.
Yep.
Because he does not seem to be on the move anytime soon. One player that does seem to be on the move, and this pains Jim and
I don't know if we even
talk
need to
about-
really get into it.
Barreche.
It's a rumor.
Well,
It all but a
I
guarantee.
believe he was held out at Palace's European game tonight.
All but guaranteed a transfer to Spurs as of 2 days ago.
Listen, we're not a Spurs pod, but I have to just lament for a minute. So Spurs, at the beginning of the window, they went out, tried to get Gibbs White. They had him. Marinakis, a.k.a. the guy from Severance, came back in and said, I'm going to stop this from happening. Gibbs White put his dick between his legs and just said, okay, whatever you want.
Well, he probably also got a fat stack.
Yeah, but like
part
whatever.
of that.
These guys all make a lot of money. So I have no
Well,
sympathy for them. When it
some
comes
make
to
more
the
than
money.
others.
Some do make more than others.
Some might be trying to buy a new house.
Sometimes just buy the house. Madison gets injured in seemingly a meaningless game against Newcastle, sons of bitches. He worked so hard to get back. He needed to be the number 10 in Thomas Frank's system. He gets injured. Opens the door for Eberechi Eze, who has been linked to Spurs for at least the last 2 or 3 transfer windows, or at least the last 2 or 3 years, I should say. We are so close to Fabrizio. Here we go. From everything that I read, player had agreed to
Terms were agreed.
terms. It was basically just a formality that they were willing to let Eze play for Palace against, who did they play against in the Conference League? It doesn't matter. Some second tier
The Conference League.
bullshit. Yeah,
Today they played Frigstrat
that was Conference League, right?
from Norway.
Yeah, some Norwegian sons of bitches. And here is Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz saying,
Unbelievable.
listen, I'm going to fall on my labia and I'm going to get a little bit of an injury that should only hold me out for a few weeks, which has been confirmed, reported, only out for a
Weeks?
few weeks, which opened the door for Arteta, the best second place manager in the world, to say, hey, I need Eze. And what does Arsenal do? They travel a few miles across North London. They go and slap Daniel Levy in the face and they say, we're going to get Eze. That happened. I was there.
Which frankly, he's dead to me. I'll never have him in fantasy.
First off, he's ugly, so I hate him.
He's not ugly. Well, you got to stop saying that about these guys. Wait till we get cameras going.
Yeah, that's true. Just hear me out, because I've been on record. I think the last episode or the episode before it, I said Eze doesn't fit in Arsenal's lineup.
He would have been a guaranteed starter at Spurs.
Guaranteed number 10 at Spurs. So I think
Both playing Champions League.
I think in Arsenal he's going to line up. He's going to take Martinelli's spot. I think Trossard's on his way out.
Martinelli's on his way out.
Martinelli is probably going to go to that Saudi money, which is good for him. Guy's got to eat. I don't know if I love Eze on the left. I feel like I like him more centrally. Does that mean
And he liked himself more centrally.
I get it. Arsenal.
I don't get it.
No. I get it. There's a little bit.
You can get it, but I don't get it.
No. Arsenal, they needed a player to fill Havertz's role. If Havertz is going to play predominantly in a false nine, then sure. Can Eze play in a false nine and sit a little bit deeper and distribute to the Grakaraka or to Saka on the right-hand side? Sure. Maybe. What does that mean for Odegaard? I don't know.
Yeah.
Zubimendi presumably is going to sit pretty deep.
Hopefully this backfires and they all get pissed at each other in the locker room.
To be very honest, I don't see Eze as a true left winger. I think the midfield at Arsenal of Odegaard, Rice, and Zubimendi was already strong enough. I'm shocked that Eze wanted to go and fight for minutes at a Champions League club when he could have gone to Spurs, been essentially the talisman, and really owned that number 10 position. Eze, I think he talked, when I was a 13-year-old, I loved, I was an Arsenal player in the academy and I loved them. And like, give me a break. Money talks, bullshit walks. I'm over him.
Yeah.
Hopefully he breaks his leg tomorrow.
Let's move on. I am happy for Queens Park Rangers, though. They do get a sell-on fee. They'll
The Queens.
always a big fan of them. Was it Charlie Austin?
Charlie Austin.
Right?
It's funny story about Charlie Austin. Side note. So when I was graduating college, I went on the only spring break trip that I went on. Me, my ex-girlfriend at the time, she was a bitch. She's definitely not listening to this, so it's fine. And my good friend, I don't want to say his name, but his name's Joe Vanish. And we were at this bar in the Dominican, and these two guys claimed to know Charlie on a first name basis.
Really?
It was odd because they kept saying things that were like very clearly indicative that they knew Charlie very well that we couldn't refute. But the chances that they were at this resort in the Dominican, you went to the resort.
I had been there prior.
Yeah. The chances that they were there at the same time we were.
Well, he was a craftsman, right? He was a carpenter or a bricklayer.
I have no.
He's a man of the people.
I have no idea.
Charlie, if you're listening,
long story short,
we'd love to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, we're big Charlie fans here. So yeah, shout out to my girlfriend. She sucked. Anyway,
I could shut her out.
I want her to hear it.
Okay.
Anyway, let's
Moving
move
on. Other transfers.
Some players that actually. So these are a combination of rumors / transfers that have been cleared, but they may not be in FPL just yet. So you want to get in a little bit early.
But DCL, we mentioned that last week. He was signed. Now he's officially in the game. Do you know what he's at, man?
I'm gonna guess 6.5.
He's at 5.5.
Stop it.
Could be a steal.
5.5.
If he gets pens, that could be a really good bargain.
But let me react in real time. 5.5 is insane.
What was that you just did?
Well, I'm just speaking in third person. 5.5 is insane for a starting forward.
Well, whether he starts, he joined last week.
Yeah, but that doesn't
He
matter.
might not start
That
for
doesn't
a few
matter.
weeks.
You think he's going to take Perot's spot?
For us pro, I don't know. He's not a natural striker.
Who scored Leeds' goal this week?
It was their defender, right?
Oh, yeah. Not their forward.
Yeah.
So DCL, who is very well familiar with the Premier League.
Right, but it's not like he's been.
Did he shave his
banging him
man
in.
bun?
I don't know.
See, that
So-
would go a long way. I think if he has the man bun, I'm not taking him in. If he shaved it in any capacity,
Let's see what we could
if he
find.
buzzed it a little bit, I think I'd bring him in.
I think at 5.5, regardless of the man bun, I think he's worth bringing.
Presumably, he would go on pens as well.
I would imagine so. Because last week we were saying one of their defenders was Streak.
Yeah. And to be fair, we didn't really talk about Leeds because they had that Monday fixture, which was after our record. Shout out to Leeds. I mean, welcome back to the league. Something about those white kits and just something about Leeds. I mean, They're a fan favorite immediately. I don't think anyone was pulling for Everton.
What a Joe Roden clean sheet.
You love Joe Roden. You said it.
Yeah, I know.
Darlow started.
If Darlow started, I would have beaten you in the week.
Yeah, but you didn't.
But
It's
so
okay. I actually think that
I'm
might be
half
the
just
only Leeds clean sheet of the season.
yeah, and we'll talk about fixtures in a second. But yeah, okay. So let's move on to other transfers.
So Amari Hutchinson might not be a name that new players recognize, but players from last season, it may sound a little bit familiar. So Amari Hutchinson, transfer from Ipswich to Nottingham Forest. So he's primarily played in the midfield. He's actually played kind of around the midfield. He's featured as a left mid, a right mid, an attacking mid. He's also gone out on the left wing and the right wing. It'll be interesting to see what he actually ends up playing. He's a player that I think, for me, he is still pretty young, 21 years old. He's coming into Nottingham on a 27.6 million euro transfer.
Is that like a lot? Is that a lot of money?
I have no idea how much that is in US, and I don't even care to convert it. But the point being, Nottingham have essentially redesigned their midfield. They've also brought in Douglas Luiz, who previously featured at Villa. He's been at Juve since. Someone who
not priced yet.
not priced just yet, but you heard Nuno say leading into the game week 1 presser that he wasn't really satisfied with the moves that Nottingham had made just yet. They've been active. So their new look midfield will be Gibbs White in that number 10, Douglas Luiz kind of sitting in that number 6 or number 8 role. And then they're also going to have Anderson, who has been a very popular DEFCON pick. Hutchinson, I would think he does not just slot in to start off the rip, but he did do pretty well last season.
Well, I think you're also missing James McAtee. Where he's going to fit in.
I am missing James McAtee. So James McAtee.
So now they almost have too many. We actually might not know who's going to start.
Yeah, so McAtee is an interesting one. So I'll be very honest with you, and I don't know a ton about James McAtee. I know he just was brought in to Nottingham, so he's a former City player.
37 million.
I'm gonna
That's
say
US
this.
dollars, so
I'm
we
gonna
know what
say
that
this.
means. 37 million is a lot.
That's a lot. I'm going to say this preemptively. I'm going to say cut this from the pod. He's a white guy that left City. He couldn't get playing time. It's extremely possible that he follows the Cole Palmer route. That's what it feels like to me because he's traditionally been playing in that attacking mid and that right winger type of role, kind of in the same place that Cole Palmer plays. Now, he doesn't really have the underlying goals and assists to say, oh, well, he's
L-
destined for that type of production.
Last year, 27 games, 7 goals.
27 games, 28 games, 20. Wait, sorry, say that again.
This is total across all comps. 27 games, 7 goals, 3 in the Prem.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's a lot to put. That's the thing, though. He's playing on City. He's probably getting brought on when they're kicking the shit out of Wolves.
It's tough to say, right? So he had 7 goal contributions last year, all of them goals. He had 5 goals and 4 assists the season prior when he's on loan at Sheffield. He could be a guy that, frankly, he was overlooked at City. Didn't really get the opportunity, didn't really get the chances. Do I expect him to come into Forest and, light up the Prem? Probably not.
But at 5.5,
But at 5.5, if he's going to end up getting minutes, which, it's funny to me, like these clubs, they spend 30, 40 mil on these players. And to me, if you're going to spend that, you've got to play these guys.
tell that to Daniel Levy.
Oh, Danny, we're not talking about that fuckface. I would think he was probably brought in to play the role that Anthony Alanga played on the right wing. So we'll be interesting to see how Nuno deploys James McAtee going forward.
Right. I think for the price tag, you have to assume he's going to be starting.
I agree.
They wouldn't have gone and gotten him for that.
I agree.
If he's not going to start.
I don't see him being on pens or anything like that. But if he does end up taking up that right winger role, because we know Gibbs White probably has the attacking mid position locked down for Forest. I mean, Marinakis just kind of put his whole life on the line for this guy. He could be someone to keep an eye out for. What is he priced at right now?
5.5.
5.5. What's his ownership? It's got to be 5 on the barrel, I would assume. Less than 1%.
0.2.
0.2%. That could be quite the differential if he ends up getting minutes. and if he ends up actually returning in a part of the attack. But we're done talking about a guy right now that has 0.2% ownership. Jacob Ramsey is the last guy on our list. So Jacob Ramsey just recently completed his loan from Villa. Sorry, I actually, is it a loan or was it a buy?
It was a
No,
buy,
it was a buy. Jacob Ramsey is now a Newcastle player.
which it's an interesting buy for them because he predominantly plays on the left, which they already have Gordon and Harvey Barnes slotted for.
I agree. So Gordon, I think right now is Newcastle striker
Right.
until they decide to finally make a move for Vissa. But I think Vissa's move is held up by the Izak shit show.
And I saw Spurs might be moving for Vissa because they're
Please
losing
no.
out on Eze. I have no problem with them.
Those two players are not in the same caliber, though.
No, but if Richarlison is going to leave,
They should sell Richie, but we're not talking about Richie right now. Anyways, Ramsey, I mean, he's very young. I think that's kind of his whole thing. He's 24 years old. He kind of came onto the Prem a few years ago as kind of that 5.5 mil priced, budget. He was a midfielder. He's going to play on that left wing, left mid. He's going to be involved in the attack. But Morgan
I don't
Rogers,
know
I
if
think,
he's going to play.
yeah,
So I think this move made him
think he's depth.
fantasy irrelevant.
I think he's depth. I equate him to the left sided Jacob Murphy at this point because I don't see him supplanting Harvey Barnes the same way I don't see Murphy supplanting Anthony Langdon.
Right. Unless something happens with an injury or we got like a set rotation with Champions League, I don't think he's worth a shout.
Any other players that come to mind
For
as far as-
transfers?
I don't think so. So as far as FPL goes, that's helpful. And we know that the window is going to be closing soon. So we won't necessarily have to worry so much about, will this player be playing? Minutes will be a little bit more solid within the next couple of weeks. Jimbo, let's talk fixtures. Why don't you talk a little bit about which teams have the best fixtures, which teams have fixtures that you might want to avoid? Be able to talk some clean sheet chances.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So I think my favorite fixtures I got highlighted for the week. Chelsea, it's the early game on Friday versus West Ham. So they didn't look themselves. They missed a lot of chances.
Chelsea or Wolves? Or sorry, not Wolves. West Ham.
Chelsea. Chelsea missed a lot of chances, and then that game against Palace, they really could have. They could have won 3 or 4 to 1, right? So I think them on Friday is a great fixture, offensive and defensively, because West Ham. I've been pretty low on them. I know, you like Bowen and
Well, I like Bowen, but I haven't been high on West Ham.
Okay, fair enough. So I think Chelsea's great. After that, I think my next favorite is, and probably everybody's, is Arsenal versus Leeds. That's the 12:30 game on Saturday.
I believe so.
I think this is like a perfect setup game for people underestimating Arsenal. They had a scrappy 1-0 game that they probably lost on the eye test last week against United, and Leeds had a scrappy 1-0 win. I think this is a perfect fixture for those scripts to flip, and Arsenal put 3-4 in. Maybe this is when Gherkins comes out and makes a statement.
I want to say it was like Netflix or something like that. Some random outlet. I wanted to make a
did
joke,
not.
but there's no point. He basically, it was like asked, I think it was some like Brazilian outlet. I think it was like ESPN Brazil. No joke. I swear to God. And they basically went like rapid fire. Like, we're going to ask you a question of who you think the best player is at this position, and you tell us the player. And they basically asked him, like, who's the fastest? Who's the, biggest aerial threat? Who's the most creative? And so on and so forth. And he gave names, and they asked him, who is the best penalty taker? And his answer was none other but Grish.
Really?
So take that for what it is.
I will.
I think we talked in previous episodes, is Havertz going to be the player that potentially threatens Gyökeres minutes?
I think that's
Havertz is
we
obviously
know the
out
answer
right
to
now.
that. Yeah.
Gyökeres will be essentially nailed as far as we would
You'd
think.
think for 90 at this point.
I would think for 90
Until they have to rotate.
until they have to. And even if they had to, I don't know if he would come out. Like, what other forward? Marino?
So Jesus is going to be back.
No, Jesus is
in
dead. He's all
September.
crossed up.
No, he's going to be back in
but
September. I
just game week 2. Jesus
Right.
isn't
So,
back yet.
yes, we have to assume Gyökeres
Yeah.
is going to start. Either way, anybody really is a great.
Literally anybody else.
And I think Saka is probably the best option there.
I don't want to tease, but I think Saka could be.
Well, you're teasing.
I'm teasing. I'm a tease.
You're a tease.
Ask my wife.
All right.
I could
Other
keep going,
games.
keep going, keep going.
Other games. Villa. I think Villa versus Brentford Saturday. They had an ugly, ugly game
Brentford.
Villa had an ugly game
Oh,
against
against
Newcastle
Newcastle, yeah.
the week
Brutal.
prior. People would probably be down on them. I think that it could be a nice trap game. They come back. Brentford, I don't think are any good.
I am on record. I think Brentford are on relegation watch. They did just bring in Wataro from Bournemouth, who should, in theory,
Mm,
kind of help out their
yeah.
attack. But that being said, Watara is in nobody's drafts, not really helping their attack. As far as relegation goes, that may help Brentford's odds. But as far as FPL goes, I think Villa are positioned to absolutely thrive in this matchup. I agree with you.
Yeah. And my last one I have is United versus Fulham.
Talk to me.
I don't think Fulham are very good. And I
So you're buying into United, or are you
I'm-
buying into Fulham being
I'm
shite?
buying into United. They had so many chances that really could have and should have gone in. I don't think Fulham are anywhere near as good as Arsenal in defense. They're missing Robinson still.
That-
I
that-
think this is a great chance for them to put 3 or 4 in.
So I'll say I think I need to see a little bit more from Fulham before I can really formulate um, an opinion that I feel strongly about. I will agree with you. We talked a lot about it on the last step. United were very threatening
And,
against Arsenal. Very threatening.
and Fulham had
Yeah.
a late at the death goal to draw.
But that's kind of where my head's at, where Brighton kind of had them handled for 95 minutes and Fulham had one right at the end. So I hear you. I'm not sold on Fulham just yet.
Okay.
I think where my head's at, so you mentioned Arsenal, you mentioned Villa, you mentioned United. Let me just speak from an excitement standpoint. I'm very excited for the 7:30 a.m. fixture, City versus Spurs. I know you talked about it a little bit.
Mm.
I think I call it a wet dream, but for those kids who don't know what that is, this should be electric. I think as far as matchup goes, I think that City right now, coming off of a Wolves slaughter, they basically just took the Wolves and took them out to pasture. Spurs did the same thing. Now, granted, it was against Burnley, but you have Christian Romero in the back line who just signed a new contract. You have Jed Spence, who in theory should line up, just signed a new contract. Mickey Van de Ven, who I believe at the time of recording this is the highest owned defender in FPL. Not because
He's
of his
4.5.
speed, because of his good looks.
He's great.
I don't expect a clean sheet from either side in this game.
So yeah,
Savino also heavily linked.
I just saw he is now blocked
From who?
from sale. They want to keep him because City is not going to get Rodrigo. They now want to keep Savino. So Spurs are going to not spend any money. But continue.
Regardless, I'm very excited for that City Spurs matchup. Frankly, I think this could be one of those like 4-2, 4-3 shootouts.
Yeah.
I think if you have Holland on your team, you probably feel good about it. I think you may even captain Holland.
So I have this as a game that you avoid captaining Holland.
Oh, why?
Because this is one of those games where typically it's like an unexpected person scores, right? This is like Pepe Sarr scores or
You mean number 10, Papsar?
yeah, who else is going to play?
5.5 mil.
Right. Or, a city defender scores. So a game where, it's not going to be Holland getting 2 or 3. It's going to be a scrappy game. It's going to be a great game, but I don't see the number, the highest owned FPL asset going off for a 10 or 12. The other one I think is a good one that should be avoided is Burnley Sunderland. It's another Saturday 10 a.m. game. Sunderland with a big emotional win at home. First game back in the Prem. They did great, just as we expected. And Burnley, not so great. The 3-0 against Spurs. It just seems like one of those games where the script could flip very easily. Sunderland had the highest scoring FPL asset. He's obviously not going to be able to continue that crazy form. I think Burnley's defense is highly owned. Steve is probably the one that a lot of people have on their bench just because he's a 4 mil. I don't know. This seems like one that the script could flip on both teams, and it could be a 0-0 or a 1-1 or even a 1-0 to Burnley. Any preconceived notions about who or the cheap FPL assets that people are going to want. It could be one that anybody who makes those early transfers based on game week ones is going to regret it. So I think that's one to avoid. Should we move on to captains?
I couldn't agree more.
All right. So you want to go first, or
I think
you want me to take it?
I'll go first this week.
Okay.
So I have 3 players, and
That's too wide. What are the chances?
those are good chances. I kind of alluded to it already. So I've got 3 players that I think this week for captaincy would be huge boom potential, minimal bust potential.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. So first, and I kind of mentioned it just now, I think Holland is, and let me also preface it. These are not in any particular order because I don't want to be committal.
Okay. So these aren't in order, but at the end, I will
At
ask
the
you
end,
for
you
an
can
order.
ask me. So first, I have Erling Haaland. We just mentioned it.
Yep.
Right? Like if there was ever a player who could exploit the Spurs back line, it's Haaland. He's got the size. He's going to be active in the box. Interestingly enough, so if we look at Haaland's stats from his game week 1, so game week 1, he had 6 shots on goal. He had 2 goals, an expected goal of 1.99. So he nailed his expected goals. Interestingly enough, so when we look at his possession, so he had 13 touches the entire game, which would have put him basically in the 5th percentile out of players on the pitch. He only had 7 touches in the opposition's box. He was never dispossessed. So think about that. He had 7 touches in the opposition box, and he had 6 shots on goal. So what does that tell you? Basically,
More than half of his touches. were
every
in the
time
box.
he touched the ball, it was in the opposition box.
Is that a surprise?
And he shot the ball. It's not surprising, but I think it highlights the point that we made that like Holland isn't the kind of player who's going to go out there and create. He's going to need to be fed balls in and around his feet, and he's going to take shots. He's going to rip shots. That's his game. His conversion rate is insane. So he's elite when it comes to conversion rate. But the point being, right, like when you think about his matchup against Spurs, Thomas Frank is still employing his new system. It's going to take a little bit of time before these players.
Well, I actually don't know if we know his system yet.
That's my point. Is we still don't really
Okay.
know exactly what a Thomas Frank system means for Christian Romero, Mickey Van de Ven, and does he go back 3 with Danzo? Does he go back 4 and he brings Poro and Spence a little bit deeper? I think Udogi is still flagged. So the point being, when Haaland touches the ball, he's taking a shot.
Yep.
2 out of 6 is a very high conversion rate.
Yeah. I think he's a great shout. Can completely see him seeing in the back of the net. I don't
You
think
agree with me?
I do. I don't think he's going to get 2. I don't think he's going to get 3. I think Spurs are going to play it tight enough that yes, he could get a goal. I don't think he's going to go off.
So in his last 2 fixtures against Spurs, he has 1 goal in the previous game, and 2 games ago he had nothing. So to that point, Spurs, I mean, if I'm Thomas Frank and I'm thinking about what is City's main attacking option, it's going to be Haaland. So if you're going to I don't want to say like live with other players scoring, you're going to live with that because Haaland's that guy.
You'll live with 1. Yeah.
You'll live with somebody else scoring the goal. So for me, Haaland's an obvious captain choice because I think he's going to get his goal. To your point, do I think he's going to get 2 or 3? Probably not, but I wouldn't rule it out because we know with Spurs, when it falls off, it falls off. So
Moving on.
you want my second player?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's hear all 3.
Second player, ice cold. I'm bringing him back this week. Cole Palmer. But
Yeah.
hear me
I
out.
really like that.
Hear me out.
I really like that.
You mentioned Chelsea's fixtures. So Chelsea this week is playing West Ham. West Ham is coming off of, I believe, a 3-0 defeat to Sunderland.
Yep.
West Ham couldn't look worse.
I think.
They smell bad. When we think about Palmer's stats, obviously they blanked against Palace. He had an okay showing. He had 4 shots, none of them on goal. When we think about his overall contribution to the game, right? So he had 47 touches, 7 touches in the opposition box, and of those 7, he had 4 shots. So about half of the time he touched the ball in the box, he was able to get a shot off. Palmer's one of those guys that he can score from distance. He can create. He's going to have an influence on the game. He has that creativity to go out and get a shot off, even when he's just one-on-one with an ISO. I don't think Palmer is going to stay down for that long. I'm on record. I think Palmer's going to have a phenomenal season I think Palmer against West Ham is an excellent captaincy choice this week.
I agree. He's on my list as well. Chelsea are not as bad as they looked last week. They hit a lot of games over the summer with the Club World Cup.
Fake tournament.
You know, they'll take some time to get back into form, but I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to do that. Who's your third?
My third is everyone's favorite, but also no one's favorite, Saka. I think the fixture is there. I think when we think about the injury scare, right? For me, that's the whole thing is just the injury scare.
What injury scare?
Well, yeah, he had a little knock in preseason about a week before the season started. He had a little bit of an ankle injury. He seemed to come through against United unscathed. He played the full 90. That's back-to-back games against United and Athletic, where he played 90 minutes. Um, let's take a look. He only had one in the entire game against United, but I think we
It
can
was
agree.
close.
It was very close. I think we can agree Arsenal won that game, but if you were a pundit watching that game, you're probably more excited about the potential of United. So listen, Arteta loves winning second place. They're going to get their results. When we think about Saka's involvement, right? So he had 40 touches overall, only 2 of them in the opposition box. Now, I don't want to backtrack on what I said about, what Arteta alluded to related to Arsenal's penalty taker, but I think Saka is just so electric on that left-hand side. They're playing Leeds this week, who traditionally are not a great defensive team. They're coming off a clean sheet, but Everton don't really have a striker. So,
True. Or an offense.
or an offense in any capacity. So I think this is the week, right? Like if Arsenal's going to go off, they got to do it against a newly promoted side.
I agree.
You just agreeing with everything I'm saying? That's bad for the pod.
Well, what does that tell you though? If we have
We're-
two of the same
we're bad
captain
about-
picks, that was your 3, right?
Those are my 3.
So I had the same Palmer.
Am I screaming?
No.
Feels like I'm screaming.
Well,
Maybe.
I had Palmer. Only concern on him, the early game. Hate that. Hate the early captain.
Early game, you mean the first game?
Yes.
Okay.
I have Saka, who I'm probably going to give my captain to. I also think Gherkins could be a great pick here. This might be his coming out. He didn't contribute much last week,
Who's
but
coming out?
Gherkins playing with his hair an awful lot last week. I think this is the week.
21 hair
This
touches.
is the week he plays with the back of the net.
Did you have Saka in your team last week?
Yeah.
Well,
Why?
I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was in my first draft.
Love Bakaya.
So I think either of those Arsenal assets are good options. I don't know if I go anybody else at Arsenal. My third one, I think Bruno. I said it.
Bruno Fernandes?
I think Fulham is. I don't think Fulham's great. They didn't look great. Bruno had a lot of opportunities to get
Let's take a look.
Points last week.
So 2 shots
Two
last
shots.
week.
He created a lot of chances, so a lot of those did not. He was feeding.
So
by mowing
77
Cunha.
touches, but that's kind of expected. He's sitting a little bit deeper, so the
Yep.
ball's going to work through him a little bit. Only 2 touches in the opposition box.
Chances created. 5 chances created.
5 chances created.
That's a lot. What if each of those was an assist? How would you like that? How would you like that in your squad?
Well,
You do the math. How many points would that be?
1 million.
You're like Sam Witwicky there.
Yeah.
So
Copyright.
I really like I really like Bruno as a differential pick. Obviously, he's a risk, but he's one of those players that he didn't score well last week, but we all know he's a great player. The eye test showed that he could have gotten more points than he did, and I don't think Fulham were very good.
Do you think Bruno, and I don't want to get a little bit of a rabbit hole here. Do you think he's overpriced?
No.
So last season he had 19 goals and 18 assists. Does that sound right to you?
That's all comps.
That's an all comp. Okay, so let's see if we can change this to Prem only. Okay, so you had 8 goals and 10 assists in Prem. Is that worthy of a 9 mil price tag to you?
I think so.
Oh, really?
Well, last year he was 8.5, wasn't he?
No, he was 10.5. We can check that out. Hang on, let me check that out.
Does the app have that?
Should have player prices. I guess he was 8.5.
Yeah, it was 8.5.
So he's an increase from last season. But
Correct.
but to be fair, all midfielders got an increase across the board because of DEF CON.
And United's team is presumably much better than Xerxes and Hoyland.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think if you watch the United game, That's where the eye test, I think looks better than the metrics.
And it's a risk. I'm not. I'm
It's a
saying it's
risk.
a
It's a
differential
risk.
captain.
Yeah, I think if you had like a gun to your head and they said you can't captain Holland, you cannot captain Saka, and you definitely cannot captain Liverpool against Newcastle. You have to pick a fourth. I think you could probably talk yourself into Bruno,
Yeah.
but
So those are my picks. But I agree. I think the safe ones are Palmer or Saka or Gherkins.
okay, okay. Are you hungry?
You know, I'm always hungry.
Sometimes I just like a nice piece of bread.
Oh, a little bit of butter on it.
What's your favorite kind of bread? Do you like
Personally,
Italian bread?
I'm a sourdough guy.
You're a sourdough guy.
Yeah.
Were you one of those like 2020 sourdough guys? COVID pandemic sourdough guys?
I was like a 2022, 2023 sourdough. I was like late to the game.
Oh, so you didn't believe in the pandemic?
My starter died, so
Oh,
that's why I stopped.
what's said may never die.
That is true.
Uh,
Great race.
This episode is brought to you by the Marble Rye, half pumpernickel, all attitude. It's the bread that refuses to pick a side. Because why settle for one flavor when you can argue with yourself every bite? George once risked his life, limb, and reputation trying to hoist one of these beauties up a third-story window with a fishing pole. And honestly, worth it. The swirl alone is hypnotic. The taste, let's just say, if you don't bring one home to your in-laws, you're going to hear about it. So skip the ordinary loaf and grab a Marble Rye today at swirlydelights.com. Use code Fishing Pole for 15% off your first loaf. That's swirlydelights.com, code Fishing Pole. The Marble Rye. So good, you'll steal it back. And back to the pod. All right, Jim. So we talked about captaincy picks. We talked about fixtures that are favorable. Let's talk about differentials.
Let's do it.
We need to bounce back because last ep, I don't know what the hell we talked about.
Yeah. So
You want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, let's hear him.
My first one, Brendan Johnson. Not just because I'm a Spurs fan.
You love a BJ.
He got a goal last week. He has a tough fixture this week against City, but like I said, I think it's one of those games where it's not going to be the Hollands and the Kuduses that score. It's going to be somebody unexpected, and that's a perfect game for Johnson. After this week, Spurs fixtures really turn, so I think it would be good to get in on him now to get ahead of that, because after City they have Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Wolves, Leeds.
Yeah, I love that.
That is a really good
I
run.
love that. So hear me out.
Owned by 3%.
3%
As of
ownership. That's phenomenal. I love your point about getting BJ in now because an early BJ always pays dividends.
Mm.
And early ownership of Brendan Johnson always pays dividends.
Absolutely.
My only question for you. So when we think about City's back line, is Guardiola still flagged? Will he be playing this week?
I believe he's still flagged.
Okay. So if Guardiola is out, who started for City last week? Can we look at that?
John Stones.
John Stones and Ruben Diaz.
And I saw that Akanji.
Akanji is.
Akanji's
Hold on, let me
gone.
get this one.
Oh, sorry.
Galatasaray.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. See, I know. I had a little
A little bit
tickle last
faster
week.
now.
Yeah.
A little bit faster now.
Oh.
Galatasaray.
Galatasaray. But the point being, so City's back line is still formidable.
Yes.
That being Stones and Diaz. Nori assuming on the left side, and then who started on the right last week? Do you remember? It was was it Rico Lewis? That's where Bob starts up top. They look like the same person. That's super racist, but whatever.
It was Rico Lewis.
It was Rico Lewis. So
He's English.
do you believe in Rico Lewis starting again, or do you think Mateus Nunes is going to start in that right back?
Time out. Where do you think Oscar Bob's from?
Norway.
Oh, very good.
I know.
Good for you.
I know my Bobs.
Right.
Oscar Bob with two B's.
Answer your question.
landlord.
I don't know. This is classic pepper.
You're answering with I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
nobody
a tough
knows.
answer.
No, it's the easy.
A, B, C, D, E, I don't know.
It's the easier. Nobody knows who's going to start in the back line.
The point being, I think Akanji being, well, what did I say? Akanji? Kanji?
He said a Kanji.
Akanji. Akanji being linked to Galatasaray, I think makes the back line question for City a little bit clearer.
Yes.
Because I think it's Diaz, I think it's Stones, I think it's Guardiola who is injured, I think it's Ake, and who's left?
Ainori.
Kuzinov?
You missed that. Ainori.
No, I know he's not playing center back though.
Oh, you're talking just center back.
Just center back. I think Kuzinov.
I think Diaz is the obvious 1-1. Then probably Stones 1-2.
So when we think about their center backs, it's probably Ruben, it's probably Stones, it's probably Kuzinov. Nunez should play right back instead of Rico Lewis, who's really more of a midfielder. I don't even think he plays a traditional right back. I think he kind of leaks forward a little bit.
But then Baba O'Reilly came on.
But O'Reilly's
He's a
auto farts.
he's kind of not a traditional right back.
Yeah, so Guardiola's an interesting one. So if you've had Guardiola in your squad, he's also dropped from 6 mil to 5.9 mil. You've
That's a
lost
tough
that
one.
point one.
That's tough.
That is painful. That is a very, very tough price point to come back from at this
What's
point.
his ownership?
24%.
Ooh,
Well,
that's
it
tough.
probably was higher, which is why he got the drop. Yeah, I mean, City's back line could be exploitable. I mean, there's a reason why John Stones and Ruben Diaz have not been first choice.
Yes. Anyway, so let's get back. This was differential picks. So this started it
Yes.
started
My
with
gosh.
me picking Brennan Johnson.
Jim's picking a BJ.
I think
No surprise there. going.
he might blank this week. I think
You think he's shooting blanks?
I think in the next 3 or 4 or 5 weeks he's guaranteed a few goals. So I think it's a long-term move, low ownership, but to get it now. He already scored, so his price reasonable to think it's going to rise. So yeah, I have him. My next one, Alexis McAllister,
Alexis, Texas. Oh,
owned by 1.9%. So he is somebody that I think could be a way into Liverpool. He could be into Liverpool without spending, crazy funds. So he's 6.5. Obviously, Gakpo is kind of nailed now at 7.5 without the Isak coming in. But if you're looking for a real differential, McAllister's owned by 1.9 as of 11:14 p.m. He's 6.5. He got the assist last week, but I think more importantly, he played the full 90.
Yeah.
So with the new players coming on, he did play that. He did not play 90?
he played 71. But
He played the full
felt-
71.
full
He played
71.
90 minutes out of that 71, I swear.
You're including halftime,
That's
which is
true.
15.
So true.
So tack on. So he basically played 85.
Plus the stoppage time of the first half.
Close enough.
Anyway,
He was engaged for 90 minutes.
he got the assist. He looked great. He was subbed off after the new signings. That's an accurate statement.
Yeah, Frimpong and Kirkus came off first for Wataru and Robo. Interesting lift. So Frimpong has been ruled out through the international break. He's got a little hammy issue. So definitely avoid Frimpong. To your point on McAllister. So
He was subbed off when it was 2-1.
who came on?
Curtis Jones.
First run sucks. So don't bring him on.
So they thought they had it in the bag. To be
They
fair.
did. They were
He
bagging.
made it longer than Frimpong and Kirkus.
Yeah. The point being, right, like I understand your inclusion of Alexis McAllister. I think as long as he's your third Liverpool asset, I'm with you.
Yep.
I wouldn't place him above Salah. I wouldn't, at this point, frankly, place him above Gakpo.
Correct. And that's what makes him a tough pick.
That's what makes him a tough pick.
But for those that are looking for a real differential,
Yeah. He is a central cog for
and
how that team operates.
I hate to say it because I have him in my team, but he looked better than Verts.
So
2 mil
Verts
cheaper.
is an interesting one, and we'll talk about him a little bit. Verts is actually right now the top player who's been transferred out with over 1,600 transfers out based on saves drafts for week 2. So obviously there's still movement going on. Here's the thing. Verts didn't do anything, frankly, to justify his price point, but he also didn't do anything to justify the transfers out. It's 1 week.
He blanked.
He blanked.
Everybody blanks.
It happens. If he had gone off for 15 points, he would absolutely be the most highly transferred in midfielder at 8.5. It wouldn't even be a
It
question.
was a high pressure Friday night. How many times have you blanked?
Well, I have 2 kids, so X-2. But the point being, I'm with you. Like, do I think a little bit of it's a little bit of knee-jerk reaction, right? Like,
Agreed.
this is a player who is coming into a new league. His expectations were through the roof. His price point warranted it, but he blanked. So,
Yeah.
do we
So-
think he's going to blank moving forward?
I don't think so. But I think McAllister,
As his wife.
if you think you want a differential and need a differential, and McAllister is a good way into Liverpool. My last one, Morgan Gibbs White.
G-dubs.
5% owned. Had an assist last week. Playing a vulnerable Palace this week. So, right? So they had a game tonight all the way in Norway or maybe home. I don't even know. But a short game week. A tough one last week that they fought and got the point against Chelsea. This week,
Yeah, so this week, Forest are playing Crystal Palace. Cut that part about Chelsea.
no, they're playing Chelsea this week.
No. This week,
Forest-
Forest is playing Crystal Palace.
Forest is playing Crystal Palace. What did I visit?
You said Chelsea.
Okay, that's right.
Cut that.
Forest is playing Crystal Palace, who is coming off a short week after a tough win, a tough draw at Chelsea. So Forest presumably has the upper hand.
Presumably, I would agree with that. That's fair. Gibbs White's an interesting one. I mean, from a fan perspective, he's dead to me because
Agree. I would never
Baranakis
sign him.
literally, I think, has his thumb up Gibbs White's ass, and on that thumb are a few $100 million. But whatever, I get it. Money talks, bullshit walks. I've been quoted on that previously in this episode. That being said, he did return game week 1. So game week 1, he did have an assist, 5 points, 1 assist. There was no clean sheet involved. From a defensive contribution standpoint, Gibbs White's not really going to give you anything. That's not his game.
He's an assist man.
He's an assist man. The ball's going to work through him.
He's the ass man, Cosmo Kramer.
Fights are of the night, man. Gibbs White's an interesting pick. Cut that. If I had the voice modulation working, it would have been fine. But it didn't work. I'll bring it back for another round. Cut that. I love the Gibbs White pick, frankly.
5%.
Are you willing to bring him in?
No. So these aren't who I'm saying is, I'm saying if you're looking for a differential, these are 3 people that I would bring in. They don't work in my squad at the moment because we'll get to it later, but they're not working for me at the moment. But these are 3 that I would consider if I was looking to move on.
Can I share mine?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. So my first one, I'm going to start at the back. First one, I'm going to start with Verbruggen. Okay.
Keeper.
Goalkeeper, Brighton, only owned by 7.4%. Maybe not traditionally a differential, but there's only so many keepers. So 7.4% is pretty low.
Less than 10.
Less than 10. Brighton essentially kept a clean sheet for 95.5 minutes last week. We've said it all along. Like, Brighton are that team where they could win 4-0 or they could lose 4-0, and it wouldn't surprise me. Brighton this week, coming off of a tough game against Fulham, they're playing Everton this week. Everton just got blanked by Leeds. So what does that tell you about Everton? Right? Like, what does their attack look like? Granted, Jack Grealish has come in. They have India. So Everton may be trying to figure it out. Chances are Brighton have a pretty good opportunity to keep Everton off the score sheet. So my first differential is Verbruggen.
I like that. Especially, I don't even want to say it. After my Darlow blank.
Oh, he's 4.5. So Darlow's 4.
I know,
that's a tough one.
But with everybody else having Dubravka, it's time to consider a backup keeper.
Yeah.
And I might have to bump up.
You might have to bump up.
That's a good shout. Who do you got next?
So I'm going to focus next. I try to do defenders, but I'm going to focus next on more so a team. So even though they just played in Europe tonight, I really like Palace's matchup. So they're playing Forest.
Really?
So
We're on opposite ends of that one.
So Daniel Munoz is only owned by 8.6%. Christian? No, his name's Daniel.
Okay.
Sorry, Daniel Munoz Mejia.
Now I know.
Now you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So obviously against Chelsea, didn't really do much. I think he only scored. Well, no, he had 5 points because ultimately Palace ended up with a clean sheet. Point being, at 8.6%, at 5.5, he could be a really great differential premium light defender. You think about those fights, you think about those 6 mil defenders. Pedro Porro this week is playing against City. I don't know if I would really choose him if I had to. And then Frimpong is out based on an injury. We talked a lot about some of the Liverpool defenders make you feel very confident about Liverpool's defense, other than Van Dijk, who had a ton of defensive contributions. But the point being, Munoz at 5.5, I think, against Forest, we basically have Chris Wood, and that's it.
But are you scared at all about Gahey moving on?
So am I scared? No. Do I think it could happen? Yes. So what you're talking about, Mark Gahey today is linked for transfer to Liverpool. I got to be very honest. Unless Gahey, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Gahey plays on the left today, correct?
He's a center.
He's center back. He doesn't play on the right side. He plays on the left side. But Van Dijk plays on the left side. I mean, Konate has been linked to Madrid. I don't think he's leaving during this window. He might be linked next summer. So maybe Gahey comes in and he is kind of the incumbent for Konate when he ultimately leaves. But I don't know if there's a learning curve there or a chance that I mean, I don't think that Gahey is the person who's going to come in and replace Van Dijk.
I think he would easily replace Konate.
I agree with that. And to be fair, Munoz has never been selected for his defensive.
Okay. So you're keeping him for
I'm
his
keeping him for his
offensive.
attacking.
Okay.
I'm keeping him for.
Then yes, agree.
I'm highlighting him for his attacking potential. At 5.5, he's going to get up there. I would put probably my first kid's college tuition. He's getting the yellow card this week. I'm positive. But the point being, I think Munoz is in there. The other Palace player that I have tagged is Ismail Sarr. So Sarr is an interesting one, especially knowing that we have the Eze exit. So Sarr is a midfielder, priced at 6.5 mil. Didn't really return against Chelsea. Did get 3 points. Got his normal points plus the 1 point for a clean sheet. You got to think Eze is leaving. Mateta's still there. Sarr has to be the player that steps into that Eze role. What do you think?
So you're actually banking on Sarr Eze leaving, helping Palace assets. I think it's the opposite. I think that him leaving hurts Sarr. Him leaving hurts.
I wouldn't say so
Matete.
much. I wouldn't say so much helping. I would say more so that the assets have to be reallocated. Like we've seen Sarr.
The minutes have to be reallocated.
Let me ask you this then.
The attacking returns are not guaranteed.
Let me ask you this. So Sarr last year was somebody that did you captain Sarr last year?
That was a few years ago.
Okay.
When he was at Watford.
When he was on Watford. So my question to you then, did Sarr do enough last year to give Palace the confidence that they could sell Eze and Sarr could become or could elevate himself into the Eze role, right? So if we look at Sarr's underlying numbers, so last year he had 30 starts, only 8 goals and 7 assists. He actually underperformed his expected goals. So he had about 11 expected goals, 7 expected assists. So overall about 18 expected goal contributions. So he underperformed. I'm just thinking.
He underperforms. Now he's losing his main attacking contributor.
Does that mean that he gets more opportunities now?
He gets more. No, I don't see it that way. The opportunities created by other people are diminishing.
But he is nailed at 6.5 mil. He's going to start for Palace.
Correct.
So
Correct.
Could be a player that you think about going forward.
If Palace have somebody that can create in Eze's absence.
I have another player.
One more. I'll give you one more. That was 2.
Well, they were the same team. I hate to do it.
No, I don't want to hear this one.
The player that shall not be named.
No.
Declan Rice.
No.
Here's what I'm going to say. He's on set pieces. He's at 6.5 mil. They're playing Leeds this week.
No.
That's it.
Saka.
That's all I'm going to say.
Saka's the play. Move
Yes.
on.
Yes. But Saka's also 10 mil. So if you're trying to get into Arsenal attack, Declan could be an avenue in. I'm not picking him. I think frankly, I give him props because at 6.5 is on free kicks. He's on corners. He could be a player, especially knowing Arsenal's attack. They are heavily reliant on set pieces, heavily reliant on scoring on corners. If he's going to be the guy that's distributing the ball, I would look towards him. He's only at 8.3% owned.
Yeah. No, I don't see it. Yes, he's on corners. Is he going to get the occasional assist? Yes. For 6.5, is he worth that? His defensive contributions last week? 4.
So he's a player, though, I feel like prior to the season, was touted for his defensive contributions.
But if he didn't get them last week,
against United, though.
When United had 22 shots on goal?
Yeah, but I feel like they were almost
22 shots.
Paying the ball over the midfield. It was almost like it was on Arsenal, sorry. It was on Arsenal's back line to get those defensive contributions. I don't know.
I'm not buying that.
I don't know.
All right, he's your pick. Move on.
Well, I have one more player.
You love him.
I have one more player.
A 5th?
Well, no, this is a 4th. So Evan Nilsson. So starting forward at Bournemouth.
I could see this one.
Playing Wolves.
Yep.
Wolves looked awful.
2 thumbs
week.
down.
2 thumbs, not even down, just
Way down.
way down. Hear me out. He's got Semenyo, who has cemented himself as a legitimate threat. Now, will
Yep.
Semenyo move to Arsenal? If they do, this podcast cease to exist because that would be ridiculous.
Yep.
Evan Nilsson, he's going to be nailed for 90. I believe he will also take penalties. Don't quote me on that. But they're playing Wolves. Wolves just lost 4-0 to City.
Wolves stink.
Evan Nilsson is owned by 2.4%. I think the reason, frankly, he's owned so low is he's at a 7 mil. If he was at 6.5 or he was at 6, I think his ownership would be through the roof.
Agree.
Because I don't think
he's the only
owners-
7, right?
I think last we looked, he's the only 7.
Yeah. So it's tough when you're out on an island by yourself.
Right. Exactly. So point being, yeah, I think he's the only 7 right now. So point being, I think Evan Nilsson against Wolves. Wolves, we've heard some folks say they're on relegation watch. That might be coming true because they looked awful. They did not instill any hope whatsoever, and Evan Nilsson could be ready to pounce on that.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk a little bit about, because we're getting close to the end here. Deadline's around the corner. Why don't we talk a little bit about players that have been transferred out, players that have been transferred in, and then some fallers.
So price drops. So these are kind of the harder ones to swallow. So Vardiol and Gundogan both lost a 1/10 of a mil.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Because they didn't play.
What does that impact?
Impact?
Like, well, okay, hold on. First, explain why it happened.
Well, that means people had Vardiol on their team. People had Gundogan on their team.
Okay.
They didn't play. I don't think anybody expected them to play if you were watching the team news. They were transferred out, and because a substantial portion of those were transferred out, they lost a 1/10 of a mil.
Yeah, so price changes, whether they're risers or fallers, are directly related to ownership and transfers. So if a player,
But it's percentage wise, so it's
Yes,
not
yes,
quantity.
percentage.
It's not quantity.
100%. So if a player is highly owned percentage wise, and they're also highly transferred in percentage wise, that player's price is likely to raise. Versus if a player is highly owned, but they are highly transferred out percentage wise, their price is likely to fall. So the 5 players that we want to highlight, Guardiola went from a 6 mil to a 5.9, so they lost 0.1. Gundogan, 6.5 to 6.4.
Who really shouldn't be an FPL concern. But
Agreed.
that seems like an overlook from people who drafted early.
Jacob Murphy, 6.5 to 6.4. Lucas
A victim
Paqueta,
of Alenga.
agrees. Lucas Paqueta, 6 mil to 5.9, which I could have fallen into that trap, but I didn't end up bringing him in.
Because West Ham looked so poor against Sunderland.
And then your boy Suchek, 6 mil to 5.9.
See, 6 mil is just
So
absurd for
You
him.
you may look at this and be like, oh, well, this is only, 0.1 million in the bank. It's not a big deal. But when you think about the rest of the players where their prices have not moved, so let's just play it out. If all of your players in your draft stayed the same, except for Guardiola, and now you want to make a transfer, well, you're immediately priced out of every other 6 mil player. If you want to bring in another player that is priced at 6 mil, that means you have to sell someone who is either above or below to make up that extra 0.1 mil. You will eventually have at least some sort of balance in the bank, whether it's 0.4 mil, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, etc. But these price changes, they're impactful, and it's something that is hard to plan for.
And more so, the price drops, right? Because the price raises if Holland goes up to, if he gains 0.1. When you sell him, there's a sell-on fee, right? So you only get half of what the raise is.
I don't know if that's true this year.
Is that not true?
I don't
any
know.
longer?
I don't know. We can confirm that.
We won't confirm it.
Not tonight.
Let's just phrase it. In previous seasons, there's a sell-on fee. So you only get half of what the price rise is. So if a player goes from 10 to 10.2, you would net 10.1. If he went from 10 to 10.4, you'd get 10.2. For the case of price drops, you just lose that automatically. So it's not like you could count on Vardiol goes from 6 to 5.9, but Watkins gains 0.1. It does not even out because you would still be down 0.1. So it's the
Agreed.
price drops that really hurt you.
Yeah. And we talked about that week 1 where we almost kind of hedged against the Guyu draft
Yeah.
because he was expected to be high ownership. He was expected to blank, which would have, in theory, prompted managers to move him out, which could have forced him to be a faller by even point one. We'll see. I mean, I think you see a lot of fallers week one, week two, week three, but I feel like it kind of normalizes. I feel like it kind of stabilizes as weeks go on.
Yeah. And so the other one that I think it's worth noting is Kanza. So we got the red card last week, straight red. He's going to miss the next 3 game weeks. His price has not dropped yet. Well, I guess let's confirm that. Because as of 11:30, his price has not dropped. So he's still a 4.5 defender. But now that players have, after game week 2, they will have 2 free transfers. So they will be able to move Kansa out plus one other person. And presumably, as long as they do it early enough and whoever else they're including in the transfer does not drop price as well, they'll be able to transfer Kansa out without taking a price drop. So by doing that, they will further drop his ownership. And then the people at the end, prior to game week 3 who are moving him out will in fact be impacted by that. So I guess what this thought or the sentiment is, if you're going to move out Kansa, do it early, because the more people that move him out now that they have the extra transfer available to them, the faster his price is going to drop.
Yeah, the only way to avoid price drops, frankly, is making a impulsive or compulsive transfer. Sometimes even before the game week is over.
Yeah. So
It's really hard. It's really risky, and sometimes it really doesn't pan out.
right. But if you have somebody else who gets a red or comes off with an injury, that's the perfect opportunity to move Kansa plus that person out. That way you have 2 people that are flagged that are not guaranteed to start week 3. That way at least you could justify it to yourself that you moved early, you avoided the price drop, even if you could potentially lose out on points in the future.
Yeah. So as far as players go right now we see their ownership rising. Gabriel and Saliba from Arsenal have seen a respective jump in ownership by zero point 0.1 and 0.1%. So it's about 20.3 and 17% respectively. That makes sense. They're playing leads. We see managers bringing them in because they're expecting a clean sheet. Petrovic, keeper for Bournemouth, being brought in as well. Bournemouth this week are playing Wolves. So it's the same thought with Evan Nilsson, right? There's people that are frankly very low on Wolves, which I tend to be as well. Mitrovic being brought in plus 0.1% or plus 0.6% overall makes a lot of sense. Semenyo is also in this list. So Semenyo has been brought in by 14.2% of managers. This makes a ton of sense for a couple of reasons. One, right now he is priced, I think he actually had a price increase, 0.1. So there were a lot of managers who were probably trying to hedge and get him in while he was still at 7 mil, but now he is at 7.1 because of his ownership, because of his results in return in game week 1 against Liverpool with that brace. So if you were thinking about bringing in Semenyo and none of your other players had any sort of price movement, you will have to sell in order to bring him in because you will not have the funds to bring him in at 7.1. And that's where it really, like that 0.1, it feels so small, but it's such a big number.
And really it's 0.2 if you're trying to get rid of somebody who already dropped.
So true. So true. As far as, the players who've been brought in to our top transfers are Holland, Osaka, and Semenyo. Those are kind of those top 4 that people are bringing in.
And Saka and Gherkins are definitely because of the fixture, right?
Yeah, I would say these are mainly fixture based. I gotta be honest, I was surprised to a certain extent to not see Ollie Watkins in here. So Villa, like you mentioned, are playing Brentford. Watkins, I mean, as
Well,
far
they
as
looked bad.
they look really bad.
So
Watkins
I
has
think
looked good. His forms look good.
right compared to the other forwards,
What do you think is more likely? A Watkins brace or a Holland brace this week?
Watkins versus
Brentford. You think Holland brace is more likely?
I'm just not high in Villa. I think they've moved around too many people.
So if you
that
had
I
the
don't
funds,
know
if
that.
you had Watkins in your team, you had the funds, you would go to Holland?
Man, it's a huge jump, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
That's a big price difference, but
Yeah.
yes.
Interesting. So
Honestly, if Watkins and Gherkins is the same price,
Yaka.
I would move to him for the Leeds fixture.
I didn't see enough from him. I'd almost rather see him net a brace against Leeds to give me confidence that he's
You'd
worth
rather
bringing in.
miss out on it.
Yeah, I would for 1 week because I think most managers are missing out on it.
Oh, I would rather be ahead of it.
If you still have Yakaras in your team off of nothing,
If you have Watkins in your team off of
no,
that
Watkins has
performance.
years of FPL performance to
yes,
base on.
but I feel like they just lost so many people.
Rogers has been linked to a few teams, one of them being Chelsea, one of them being Spurs recently. Spurs, I don't know what they're doing. Point being, Watkins has not been linked to anyone. He's going to be at Villa. He's going to be their guy.
Yes, but at what cost?
Well, I don't know what he costs.
I'm saying they've lost. Let's look. Let me pull up their players out. Leon Bailey, who in
Good riddance.
seasons
Roma?
was good. Roma. Leon Dundecker.
Leander, the German
Jacob Ramsey.
stalwart. Ramsey to Newcastle.
Kurt Smith.
Kurt Smith? That's fake.
Kurt Smith. Sounds like
That's fake.
he's got to be German, right?
That's not a real
Scottish.
person.
Joe Gauchi. Danny Fauci's
Anthony
long
Gouch.
lost cousin. Hassan Ozkan to Anderlecht. Ethan Edmondson Day. Philip Michel. All right.
These are fake players. However, one player that we didn't bring up. Come on. And it's not
Philippe Coutinho.
Yeah, Philly, he's fake. One player that didn't show up, but
Maiden.
I want to talk about him. Danielle Mullen, who is a 5.5 mil midfielder, who I believe at this point in time, at the time of recording, is now at 5.4. So he did drop.
He dropped despite having a cool mustache and coming on late.
Super cool mustache. He only played 6 minutes. So just a prime example of preseason useless.
When you said he had outrageous numbers
He did. He had a great preseason.
against Cincinnati FC.
Touchdown Cincinnati's, a couple of Cincinnati's. But listen, the point being, if you're thinking about players to bring in, the only player that we didn't really talk about who did return last week, we talked about Semenyo, we talked about Saka, Holland, Gakares, City Rangers. City Rangers obviously returned at 5.5. If you don't have him in your squad at this point, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think he's worth the hit because his upside is so high at potential that if you miss out, you're really missing out. As far as players out go, Florian Wirtz has been on the way out. Watkins, Palmer, Porro, Bowen. Listen, the only one out of this entire list that makes sense to me is Wirtz. And the reason
I disagree.
I don't agree with it, but I
You
understand
just said
it. No. I understand it. I understand it because listen, he blanked, and he's new to the league. You can be fairly confident that Watkins, Palmer, Porro, Bowen, they're going to have returns. Wirtz hasn't had one yet. I think if he had some sort of goal contribution in week 1, I don't think he's on this list.
No. The fact that he's higher than Bowen is outrageous to me. I'm so low on West Ham. They
Yeah,
just
but
haven't added anybody.
So I don't think
You can't tell me that you think Wirtz is going to score less than any player on that list when he's playing with Ekitike,
I don't think this
Salah.
is a testament to Bowen in West Ham. I think this is more of a testament to Wirtz justifying his price point. So
8.5. That's not
it's
that's
not
basically not a premium.
it's not a premium, but it's also not 6.5. Let me ask you this. Hold on. If you're a manager and you're looking this week, would I rather Wirtz or Semenyo? You'd rather Semenyo. That's a 1.5 mil saving. This is a guy who
No,
returned
I don't think that.
based on
Based on
Wirtz's performance in the Bundesliga versus Semenyo,
no,
who has performed
no.
in the Prem. Okay.
Based on Liverpool's squad, somebody's going to get those points. He blanked last week.
What if it's McAllister who had the assist?
Yeah, he blanked last week. McAllister got the assist.
So you're pro shooting blanks.
No, I'm pro spreading the wealth. I'm basically a communist.
We are not a communist pod. I want to just put that out there.
that was a stretch.
Don't cut that. I want that to be very clear.
Somebody has to score those points.
Well, why don't we, instead of talking about Wirtz, why don't we get into our team selections for this week? You want to go first?
So I'm, as is sticking with tradition, I am saving my transfer.
Oh, so no changes this week. So talk us through it.
No changes. My team backline, I have Dubravka, Dorgu versus Fulham, who I'm very excited about. Ronaldo versus Burnley, and De Kuyper versus Everton.
De Kuyper?
Palmer versus Marmoush, Fernandez, Saka, who I think all have apart from Marmouche, we'll see. He's the one that I'm really concerned about and may need to make a move on after this week if needed. Those are my midfield, but I'm excited about those. And forwards are Holland and Fulkrug, and I have the captain band on Saka.
Well, that's boring. No changes.
No
Do
changes.
we even have anything to talk about?
No.
Oh.
Let's move on to you. I know you've been really tinkering.
I will be very honest. I had a tough week. So I have not decided yet, which I'm running out of time. I am in between rolling a transfer and completely blowing it up and going wild card.
I would blow it up.
So hear me out. If I were to do nothing, my team would be starting Dubravka at the back against Sunderland, Van de Ven, Poro to Kuiper in the back line, banking on Spurs defense to just do something.
See,
I know, I'm not feeling great either.
But you had Munoz as your differential.
I
And you aren't even starting him over one of your two.
I probably should head
Spurs.
and sub him for Van de Ven because Poro, you got to think he's going to at least get some sort of, if he's going to be involved in the attack, if there's going to be a Spurs player involved in the attack, it's going to be Poro or Van de Ven. My midfield of Salah, Palmer, Wirtz, Rangers, Rogers. I kind of love. I don't feel the need to really blow that up. And then
You still love Rodgers?
I think Rogers, yeah, if he's healthy, why wouldn't I love Rogers? What this season
It's
makes you dislike?
consistency.
You think he's Dele Alli?
I think
You think his
Villa.
uncle touched him?
I think Villa has lost. Got that. I think Villa has lost Rashford. They've lost Asenio. They've now lost.
Yeah, but Asensio was never like a part of their long-term plans. That was a player they brought in just to beef it up. Like Rogers was performing before that.
But he's now playing in the role of
Himself, Jacob Ramsey.
Jacob Ramsey.
Yeah, but he's better than Jacob Ramsey.
Is he?
Yeah, that's why they kept him.
Well, I don't know. I'm not high on Rodgers. I can see the appeal of Watkins. He's a good striker. I agree. I think he's missing people behind him to feed him, but I think Rodgers is a stretch for me.
It's tough because you'd like to think that, I can choose a squad that after one game week I could roll to try to bank that transfer. But I'll be very honest with you. Like I want to be transparent with the community. I am very seriously considering a wild card.
Yeah, let's hear
Week
it.
2. And here's my thought. I'm not perfect. I can admit when I have faults.
That's the first
That's on record.
in 14 years of no.
How many years have you known me?
16,
27 years.
16 years of friendship. That's the
Give or
first time
take
I've ever
2 or
heard
3.
you say,
Listen,
which was
listen. I look at the wild card this season. So we've always had 2 wild cards, as far as I can remember. You always have kind of the pre-game week 20 wild card, and you have the other one. Whether you want to deploy it closer to week 20 or closer to week 1, that's up to you. But there is no risk right now to me, as far as I'm concerned, in pulling my wild card because I have another one eventually. So if I pull my wild card today, it's essentially saying my gut on week 1 was not great, and that's okay because it happens. So let me just walk through because this is a wild card team that I kind of love, and it works out. So essentially, it would be Kelleher at goal, Dubravka on my bench. I'd probably start Dubravka this week against Sunderland. I backline. I still have Van de Ven in there because at 4.5, he's a nailed center back against City. He might be able to get a set piece in there. You saw him against PSG, allegedly. Had a goal. He's going to be involved in set pieces. I would probably still start Munoz. Senesi, who's a defender for Bournemouth.
Sensei?
Well, no, it's Senesi. Against Wolves. So Wolves suck. So I'd be bringing in Senesi. When we look at Wolves' fixtures overall, Bournemouth's fixtures overall, they play Wolves this week, then Spurs, then Brighton, then Newcastle, then Leeds, then Fulham. So if I can rotate Senesi so he's not playing against Spurs, so he's not playing against Newcastle, maybe against Brighton, he might be a player that I could look to bring in. My midfield of Salah, Gakpo, Kudus, Fernandez, and Titty Reindeers. So you know this from being around me. I had Kudus in my squad.
You did.
I kind of regret. I mean, do I think he's going to be as electric against City? Probably not in the long term, but
the subsequent weeks.
He looks good. Bruno Fernandes, for all the reasons you said. Titty Reindeers is that 5.5 mil midfielder. That posed a big thing. To me, Furtz to Gakpo almost makes too much sense because it comes down to, frankly, do you believe Verts is going to supply the goals or he is going to convert the goals? To me, Gakpo is going to convert the goals. As long as Isaac is out of the squad, I don't think Gakpo has any competition on the left hand side. I think that's his position to hold down.
Owned by 8%, 8.3. Newcastle this week, Arsenal next week. Then, if you can get through that, Burnley, Everton, Crystal Palace.
It's kind of too good to avoid.
So, agree. If you're using your wild card, I think he's a great one to bring in. If you have Verts, like I do, and you currently do,
I currently do.
I think he's worth holding to get through Burnley and Everton and Crystal Palace. See how it goes. If he blanks on those three, agree.
Honestly,
Time to move on.
it's tough because with a wild card, like obviously you can perform as many transfers as you want, but you can always afford to go from a more expensive player to a less expensive player. So words at 8.5 to Gakpo at 7.5 will never be an issue ever, unless Gakpo goes off and he somehow manages to make his way to the same price point as
Like
Brighton.
a million.
But that would be an insane season from Gakpo and like probably the worst season ever from Verts. So like I look at this midfield, I feel really good about it. Fixtures aside, I feel like long term,
It is nice.
this is a nice midfield.
Let me ask you about your forwards.
Forward wise, they would look to move to Holland. We talked about great captaincy choice against Spurs.
Okay, Kevin.
Okay, captain.
Safe captain.
Safe captaincy. And João Pedro at 7.5. So I'd be looking to go from my 7.5 right now is Solanke to João Pedro.
Don't love that.
Love it. But to be fair, I could just bring in Solanke, but I don't have 3 Spurs in here.
Yeah. So why Pedro over Solanke?
So if I look at Chelsea fixtures over the next 3, they have West Ham, Fulham, Brentford, United, Brighton, Liverpool. So from game week 2 to game week 5, that kind of 4 game week spread, I feel pretty good. When I look at Spurs have City, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Wolves. So to be fair, do I think Solanke probably has a better chance of returning a goal? Yes. I think Spurs overall have a better likelihood of return, but Solanke didn't really feature. So it's hard to pick Solanke right now. If Solanke had given me 90 against Burnley, I'd feel great. If Solanke gives me 90 against City, he could be my game week 3 transfer.
But Pedro could drop by then because he's owned by 55% of the people.
That's a risk.
It is a risk. So it's safer to keep him, see if Solanke is, because you already have him, right?
Correct.
So it's safer to keep him, see if Pedro goes off, then transfer.
It's tough.
Rather than
It's tough. The other thing I don't love about this draft, frankly, is it puts no funds into my bench. Right.
Goodmanson,
Esteve, and Marcuyu combined
That's
are,
fine.
well, that's 12.5 mil for 3 positions. That's tough. Because if I want to move off any of them, can you name another 4 mil defender?
Joe Roden.
He's 4 mil?
Yeah.
That's the same defense, though. Pick me a non-Leeds defender. Pick me a non-Leeds, non-Burnley defender who's 4 mil.
Ronaldo.
Non-championship promoted team.
Okay, but it doesn't matter because you're at that point you're looking for anybody to fill in.
Yeah, well, but to that point, then that means I'm locked into Van de Ven, Munoz, and Senesi for the next
I think you're comfortable
17 game weeks.
Van de Ven and Munoz you're probably comfortable with. It's Senesi that's the question mark.
Yeah, it's a tough call, but to be fair, you usually get your points from midfield. So is this the best midfield going forward? Salah, Gakpo, Kudus, Fernandez, City, Rangers.
Tough call. 2 Liverpools.
2 Liverpool, no Palmer, no Saka.
Let me ask you this.
Kudus looked incredible.
Yes. Let me ask you this. Slot changes up formation. Does a 4-3-3. Gakpo drops. How do you feel then?
So 4-3-3 would be Kirkus on the left, Gakpo drops.
Gakpo drops, Verts in the false 9. Ekatike in the left, Salah on the right, Gravenberg.
Gravenberg's deep.
Right. Your midfield 3 of Gravenberg, McAllister. So that's a realistic.
Yeah, no,
lineup.
I'm just reacting because that's a very fair question. Essentially, you'd line up left to right. Kirkes, Van Dijk, Konate, Frimpong, or do I have to backwards?
Frimpong is
on the left.
He's a question mark.
Frimpong on the left, Kirkes on the right. Your midfield would be
No.
No, I had them right.
Frimpong's yeah.
Yeah.
Frimpong's right, but
Yes.
he's a question because he's England.
Yes. I'm just in theory.
Yeah.
Your midfield would be McAllister, McAllister, Gravenberg, Shabasly, and then your front line would be Gakpo, Ekatike, Salah.
No.
I missed
Verts, Ekatike, Salah. I think in that, if you're playing 3 midfielders,
Why would Arnie drop that?
that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, so Gravenberg was, I believe he was suspended this week for card accumulation. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I've had a few drinks tonight.
What?
We'll see how Arnie.
I'm just saying it's an option that he changed his formation.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We'll have to see how he lines him up. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
So, do you want to pull your wild card after week 1 when we don't know
It's
the potential formation change?
I have probably never felt this much pressure because I'm either going to do not much or I'm going to blow it up. And I don't have that much time left.
I'll blow it up.
You might blow it up.
I'll stay still. You blow it up.
That being said, why don't we take a peek into our AI team?
Let's see it.
So, for those that maybe didn't remember last week, so we have one team that is completely generated by artificial intelligence, not Allen Iverson. Just a reminder, the last week they generated 56 points, which would have beaten the overall weekly average. So we asked ChatGPT who they should transfer. Let's see if we can find it.
So to be fair, it beat both Matt and I.
Did it beat me?
You had 53, I had 51.
Oh,
If I'd gotten the clean sheet out of Darlow, we'd be singing a different tune.
okay. So we're doing this on the fly for those that are podcast only. So let's see. The recommendation officially. So just hold on. Let's get some context. So what we did, the prompt that we said was, here is my FPL team. And we answered every player that was currently selected for game week 1. And we said, recommend one player to transfer to make, if any, that is within budget. So we didn't force it to make a transfer. We said, based on your optimization algorithm, tell us who to transfer. And it says one move to make would be selling Florian Wirtz, a midfielder, at 8.5, and bring in Mohamed Kudus, a midfielder, at 6.5.
Why this makes sense? In 2 million in funds, Kudus is very likely to rise in price soon, so acting early can help you bank value. And at Spurs, Kudus offers creativity, goal threat, and budget value in the 6 to 7 million range.
Are we locking
This
that in?
is pretty good.
This is pretty good. So
It's not surprising.
not surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a player that, frankly, was on my radar weeks ago, and we just talked about, like, are you going to bring Verts in? Or are you going to bring him out?
And I think
Dan
everybody
never lies.
knew when Vert blanked and there was 4 goals, obviously he's at risk of taking a hit.
All right. We're going to lock in those lyrics. Verts is out, Kudus is in, and transfer made.
Confirmed.
All right. AI has also told us that this week, optimal captain is Cole Palmer. So we will set him as captain,
All right.
and our vice captain
The
will
early captain. He
play
doesn't know
as
anything about
Mo
that.
Salah. So it'll be very interesting. Can we beat the AI again, or will we lose? All right, Jimbo. We're almost at the end here, but we want to just quickly highlight we had quite the engagement from our community this week.
We had a question. Our
We
first
actually
question.
had our questions. First off, thank you to everyone who has joined our mini league, follows us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Jimbo, shout out to our mini league members. Jimbo Aram, aka Jimbo, who is leading our mini league right now. Paul Gonzalez, close second. Shout out to Matt and Danny Wannett, representing that Houston demographic. They're rookie managers. They are family, and they both texted me and told me, you suck. Maybe we should own the podcast. And I said, that's entirely fair.
It's for sale.
Oh.
It's for sale.
Give me an offer. But let's talk about our league a little bit.
So Jim Aram, the top of the league, did submit a question on our Spotify. So if anybody else has a question or wants to share their team with us and let us know what they're thinking, feel free to do so. But Jim asks, gents, would love to know your thoughts on this strategy. Get Gahey/Isak into your team now before they're transferred to Liverpool with 3 already on your team. Caveat being, you can't really do transfers until you drop your number down to 3, but wanted to throw that topic out there and get thoughts on how long it would be sustainable in this format.
So essentially, what he's asking is it's a built in mechanic in the game that does not allow you to have more than 3 players from a team. However, if you already own a player that ultimately gets transferred to a team that you own 3 players from, there could be a scenario that exists where you own 3 or 4 or 5 players from an individual team, and FPL will accept that. However, when you try to make a transfer, FPL will then force you to satisfy that 3 player limit, and they will make you transact to move those players out. So the question that Jimbo is asking is specifically in relation to 2 Liverpool players, that being Alexander Isak
Marky,
and Mark Gabe. What do you think, Jimbo? Did I explain that right?
you did. And I think the easy answer is that it depends on which Liverpool players you already have. Because I think if you have 3 attacking players, it's probably easier to swallow that.
You're swallowing who?
See, that's tough. All right, so let's
We're not a swallowing pod.
well,
If you're still listening and you heard that, good for you.
let's look at Liverpool's next fixture. So if they have Newcastle, then Liverpool. Then they have Newcastle, then Arsenal. After that, it's the international break. So if you could get 5 Liverpool players in, their next matches are Burnley, Everton, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, United, Brentford, Villa, then City. So how long would it be sustainable? I think it would be sustainable for Burnley, Everton, Palace, but then that's probably it. So that's 3 weeks.
So the question then is basically, how long do you think you could go without making a transfer? I don't know if you can just look at those players that are being brought to Liverpool, for example, and answer the question in a vacuum, because I just I don't see how you can just use those players in your squad without thinking about the other players.
Right.
Um, the
It's
other-
one thing to plan, but
it's
then
one thing to plan. Agreed.
other things are going to happen that you're going to want to move people out.
Right. Set. The other thing that I would want to bring up is the fact that the likelihood that Isak or Guehi just come in and immediately start is pretty low. Right. We already kind of
Very
talked
true.
about, Guehi's minutes. Is he going to come in and just supplant Kanate? I don't know. So is it worth having a player? Granted, he's only priced at 4.5 mil, but if you bring him in, you expect him to start. So is it worth having him on the bench to then not be able to make any transfers whatsoever? I don't think so. So
Probably not.
I
yeah.
think if I was giving guidance to our great listener, Jim Aram, aka Jimbo, I would say if you want to bring those players in, I would maybe hold off until you feel a little bit more confident that they're definitely going to make their way to Liverpool and that their minutes are definitely nailed. Otherwise, I probably would look to other players at that price point that could give you more immediate returns that would impact your overall game, overall table position.
Right. 'Cause-
Table or Tabor?
Close enough.
Close enough.
Because to do so, you'd be keeping Isak on your bench for 1 or 2 weeks. And that's a lot of money to be wrapped up in a player you know is not going to play unless this goes through.
Listen,
So if you're confident, go for it. I think it could be good for those 3 weeks after the international break. But we still have 2 weeks before that you could be
Good.
blanking on with a lot of funds. And I probably don't think that's worth it.
and listen, I don't know about you, but I've talked to my wife. We don't want to shoot blanks. Okay. Well,
It seems like a discussion between you two.
me, Chris, if you're listening, no shooting blanks. But listen, this has been a lot of fun. Game week 2. I can't believe we're already here. Please, if you are still listening to us, do not forget, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Share with your
YouTube.
friends.
Share with your friends. Drop us a comment. I promise we're reading them. We'd love to engage with our audience, interact. We'd love to give you tips, our stance on certain questions that you may have. So please do send those over. Is it too late to join our mini league?
No.
No, it's not too
It's
late.
not because it's running total.
It's running total. So I will drop the link to our mini league in the description. But the next time we will talk, Jimbo, it will be Game Week 2 recap.
Yeah.
Ugh, can't believe it. Until
How
then,
will things change?
How will things change?
And so to that point, Liverpool plays Monday, right?
Brutal.
So it might be a Monday recap. We'll have to see how the schedule
Be a
lines up.
Monday recap. We'll see how things line up. But thanks for joining us on Tinker Time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, drop your captain pick in the comments, and we'll see you next game week. Happy tinkering.
Tinker on.
Draft dreams rise like morning sun, chasing points, the game's begun. Big decisions week by week, fantasy glory's what we seek. Pick your squad, the clock won't wait. Captain choice will seal your